A lot of that discussion focusing in on the constitutionality of this bill. Now, the Supreme Court nearly 2 decades ago said that you cannot execute someone for a crime where they did not kill another person. Those who are in favor of this code change say that it's necessary to protect Alabama's children, but those who are against it say that this is a step towards censorship.
There are going to be people that say you're not giving enough second chances. What is your message to people who believe that?
I believe in second chances.
And the construction going on behind me is the broadband internet project that's been going on for years, coming into city limits. So it's really one of the only things that they actually have to do. So there are 2 budgets that Alabama lawmakers have to pass before they can wrap up. You've got the general fund, which covers everything that the state spends in the year, minus education, because there's a specific education fund.
Why was it important to note not just leaders of your own party, but leaders of the other party as well?
Because our goal in the legislature and this administration is to work together.
But now we're seeing things starting to settle down, and you can see behind me, we've been showing you all of these tents with people who are out here campaigning for people with city council and for the mayor's race. And how are you guys making sure that the voters who voted for the Democratic ticket are having their voices heard in the state legislature with the Republican supermajority in place?
Well,
is this really unprecedented for the U.S., or is there a history of tariffs used in this way?
There was a lot of back and forth about what message this bill sends. Both Democrats and Republicans did agree on one thing, that having trust in elections is incredibly important. What are you coming in hoping to achieve this time that maybe you weren't able to last time when he took this seat? Well, she covered a lot of different topics and a lot of different moods as well, reflecting not just on the past year, but the past 9 years serving as Alabama's governor. It was said that all options were on the table. They ultimately voted to keep ties between Alabama Public Television and PBS, and that decision was met with applause and cheers.
Those who study her activism say that it went far beyond December 1st, 1955 and the Montgomery bus boycott.
The Alabama School of Healthcare Sciences is officially under construction. Leaders on both sides of the aisle also said that this will be a transformational project for the Black Belt.
The victim's son, Will Berry. His mom, Margaret, was killed by Jeffrey West nearly 30 years ago. And it's hard to believe, but he says he forgives West and he wants to heal from this alongside West, who he says is remorseful. He's so passionate about West not getting the death penalty that he drove down to the Capitol, about 2 hours away from his home, just to deliver petitions to the governor's office.
Each ring of the bell echoed the message of anti-death penalty advocates to halt the execution of convicted murderer Jeffrey West. West has sat on death row since 2000 for killing Margaret Berry in 1997. Berry's son Will joined in the protest.
It's a commandment to forgive. It's a hard one to do, but the Lord says do it.
And moving forward with this, I'd like a relationship with Jeffrey West and his family. From here out, I don't want this man to die.
After speeches calling for the end of the death penalty, including West's, and after condemnations of the execution method of nitrogen hypoxia,
we're gonna keep on marching, keep on walking.
The group walked up the steps of the Capitol to deliver petitions to the governor's office, less than 2 days ahead of West's scheduled execution. Berry says his faith is what has led him to forgive. Forgiveness that he says his mother would want in her name.
He didn't do anything to the state. He did it to us, my mother, and she forgives them. I truly believe in the bottom of my heart she forgives them, and I forgive him.
I reached out to Governor Ivey's office. I was referred to a letter that she had sent to Berry in response to his written calls for commuting West's death sentence. The letter from Governor Ivey said in part that she'd be open to commuting a sentence if there were questions about the person's innocence. But she says there is no question that West is guilty of this murder and that the sentence should therefore be carried out. Right now, all of Alabama's state offices are held by Republicans, but Doug Jones is known for flipping one of Alabama's 2 Senate seats blue back in 2017. Now he says he's coming back to politics to be a candidate who can reach across the aisle here in Montgomery and around the state. This race could feel like deja vu for Alabamians.
The race will be completely different, and it's a completely different office than it was.
Former Senator Doug Jones is entering Alabama's 2026 governor's race with optimism for what may be a rematch between him and sitting U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, this time for the state's highest office.
Why are you choosing to run for governor rather than going for the open U.S. Senate seat that will be left by Senator Tuberville?
I think right now the front lines are with the governor's offices around the country. They are fighting not just for democracy, but they're fighting for the people that live in that state. You really have an opportunity, I think, to work across the aisle much more so in states than you do in the United States Senate.
Jones lost to Tuberville by a margin of about 60 to 40% when he ran for re-election to the U.S. Senate in 2020.
Why come back now? Why start this campaign right now?
I think it's time to give folks an opportunity to have a choice in leadership, a choice in people that can reach across the aisle and try to get things done.
What are you coming in hoping to achieve this time that maybe you weren't able to last time when he took this seat?
We know we're an underdog. I've been an underdog before. I was an underdog in 2017 as well. You know, I think what is different in this state is the whole country feels something different. They are anxious about their own personal situations. They're anxious about what's going on in this country.
He says his platform will include improving education, expanding job access and wages, and establishing a state lottery.
Those are issues that are going to resonate with people across the board, whether they have previously voted for a Republican or a Democrat.
I reached out to Senator Tuberville's campaign for comment. They said Tuberville has already defeated Jones once, and they are confident that he'll win again. Well, Alabama has more than 1 million head of cattle and calves as of January 2024. That's according to the Alabama Cattlemen's Association. I talked with a cattle farmer here in the Montgomery area who says Alabamians can support the state by buying and consuming locally sourced products.
Can I help you today?
Matthew Pounds and his wife co-own Pounds Meat Wagon. The Matthews, Alabama-based farm raises and produces beef and beef tallow products for customers around the river region.
We have briskets. That's a 4-pound brisket.
Pounds says he wants Alabamians to shop local rather than see a shift to bringing in beef from other countries like Argentina.
My immediate reaction was we need to be America first and sustain producers and the American people and buy from the local producers before we go spend money outside the country.
While Pounds says beef prices at the grocery stores are on the rise, he says importing it rather than buying local could lead the average cattle farmer to needing to sell some of their cattle if they lose business.
You know, that's not a huge hit, but it's a slippery slope and a precedent that, you know, we would be better off to just buy local for our producers here.
Pounds says he wants lawmakers to consider the long-term drawbacks of bringing in cattle product rather than growing the domestic market that already has cattle farmers scattered throughout the country and throughout Alabama.
If you go buy local from your local farmer, you look him in the face and you know you're helping him.
Thank you so much.
And he looks you in the face and he knows that he's providing you with a product that you know and trust and can be proud to consume.
We haven't heard much from President Trump since those comments were made last week on how a shift to importing beef would look like in practice. Parts of western Alabama have recently been upgraded to being in an extreme drought, but every county in the state is facing abnormally dry conditions.
We'll just park right here in the edge of the hayfield.
Wendy Yeager is a fourth-generation farmer. She's planted her roots and 5 different crops at Bell Place Farm in Dallas County.
We as farmers are a dying breed, and we are expected to feed more people on less acres every year.
And that job has been even harder this year because Yeager is farming against a severe drought, leading into Alabama's driest month, October. Yeager's soybeans are paying the price.
To a farmer who is trying to make ends meet, this is not what we need. You still see a lot of gaps, and we don't want to see gaps in that stalk.
And while the farm's sprawling cotton fields may look full, a closer look tells a different story.
The untrained eye, you think, oh, there's plenty of cotton out here, but to me, as a producer, I need these plants full of cotton from the bottom to the top.
And the peanuts aren't doing much better.
We've only got one partial peanut that has developed on the inside, and obviously there's not anything here on the other side of this hole.
It's not all bad news for Yeager. Her property is big enough where some of her soybeans have actually gotten that much needed rain.
More rain would help us fill out these pods. You'd have a bigger bean because that's where your yield comes from.
But the problem is it's not enough. Yeager says she's getting less product to sell and profits are getting smaller by the year. While the rain here and there has not been enough to help her crops, Yeager says it's a temporary victory to help her get through this year's harvest.
One rain won't really save us from anything. It won't really make things better. It just helps our feelings a little bit.
In the past few years, some Alabama farmers have been eligible for economic relief for crops that they lost due to drought.